Understanding someone's past gives you insight into why they act the way they do. Here's a hard truth. People often find themselves stuck in cycles, repeating behaviors learned from past experiences. It's like they're trapped, replaying the same patterns without even realizing it. That coworker who constantly seeks validation? They might be replaying a childhood where they never felt good enough. The friend who sabotages every relationship? They might be responding to a deep-seated fear of rejection from past heartbreaks. Their reactions, habits, and decisions all reflect the unresolved issues of their past. But if you can understand these patterns, you might help them become aware of their repetitive behaviors. This awareness could be the first step in confronting issues they've been avoiding for years. Stoicism teaches the importance of self-reflection and improvement. Sometimes, by understanding someone's past, you can help guide them toward bettering themselves. It's easy to judge people based on their current actions, but understanding their past unlocks the reasons behind those actions. When you see people's behaviors as responses to their history, you can approach them with more empathy, while also protecting yourself from becoming entangled in their unresolved issues. The past is always present. To truly understand someone, you need to see the full picture, not just the chapter they're currently living. Now let's talk about how sudden changes in tone can signal lies or hesitation. One of the biggest giveaways that someone is lying or hiding something is a sudden shift in their tone of voice. Most people don't realize this, but our voices often betray our inner turmoil. When someone is speaking confidently, their tone is usually steady, their pace even, and their words flow naturally. But when there's a lie or hesitation, things change, sometimes subtly, sometimes dramatically. It's as if their subconscious is trying to alert you. I once noticed this with a coworker who was always smooth-talking. During a discussion about a project deadline, his voice, usually upbeat and confident, suddenly dropped. His words came out slower, almost stuttering. I sensed something was off, and it turned out he hadn't made any progress on the project and was trying to cover it up. That shift in tone was a clear sign he wasn't being truthful. This happens because when people lie or feel uncomfortable with what they're saying, their brain and body enter into conflict. The brain tries to maintain the lie or mask uncertainty, but the body, especially the voice, often reflects the internal stress. This might manifest as a higher pitch, a crack in the voice, or a pause that feels just a bit too long. It's like their tone is out of sync with their words. Think back to the last time you caught someone lying. What did their voice sound like? Did it become quieter, or maybe they started speaking faster? Perhaps their voice took on a forced cheerfulness, as if trying too hard to sound normal. These signs indicate that something isn't right. A shift in tone often subconsciously signals discomfort, whether from lying, hiding something, or just feeling unsure. This isn't only about detecting lies. Sudden changes in tone can also indicate hesitation or uncertainty. For instance, I had a friend who would be really enthusiastic about plans we made, but her tone would instantly become monotone whenever I suggested something she didn't really want to do. That was my cue she wasn't fully on board, even if her words suggested otherwise. You've likely noticed similar shifts during relationships, business dealings, or casual conversations. Someone might suddenly change from being upbeat and friendly to defensive or evasive, even if their words seem unchanged. It's crucial to pay attention not just to what they say, but how they say it. A sudden drop in energy, a shift in pitch, or an unexpected hesitation can be subconscious cues that someone is lying or withholding information. And here's a deeper Stoic lesson. People often lie not just to deceive others, but to deceive themselves. When their tone changes, it's not necessarily because they're trying to manipulate you. It might be because they're uncomfortable with the lie they're telling themselves. This discomfort leaks into their voice, betraying them without their awareness. Stoicism encourages us to observe without judgment, and this is a perfect example of how you can use that observational skill. By paying attention to subtle shifts in tone, you can gain insights into someone's internal struggle. It's also important to recognize that we do this to ourselves. How often have you said something you didn't fully believe and noticed your voice falter? Your tone reflects your inner doubts. This is why Stoicism stresses the importance of aligning your thoughts, words, and actions. When they're not in harmony, it's often involuntarily revealed. So the next time you're in a conversation and you notice an unexpected shift in someone's tone, be it a sudden drop in energy, an awkward pause, or a change in pitch, don't overlook it. Consider what they might be holding back, or what makes them uncomfortable. It might not be an outright lie, but there's a good chance they're not telling the whole truth. Their voice is their tell, and if you listen closely, you'll catch it. Next, let's talk about honesty and observation. The most truthful moments are when people think they're unobserved. If you want to know who someone truly is, observe them when they believe no one is watching. These are the moments when people let down the facades they maintain for society, dropping the persona they've crafted to fit in or get ahead, revealing their true selves. It's a challenging truth because we often like to think our public and private selves are the same. The reality is, people often behave very differently when they believe they are unobserved. I recall working with a manager who exemplified professionalism whenever our bosses were present. She engaged in polite small talk, maintained a calm demeanor, and never raised her voice. However, the moment our higher-ups left, she would transform completely, snapping at the team, making condescending remarks, and showing no respect. It was a stark contrast that taught me a valuable lesson. The true self of a person often emerges when they think they're not being watched. When in the spotlight, people are acutely aware of how they are perceived. They behave in ways they think will garner approval or avoid conflict. But as soon as they feel unobserved, the facade drops. This is evident in how they react in unnoticed moments, how they treat people who can't benefit them, or how they act when they believe they won't be held accountable. These seemingly trivial interactions reveal their true character. This principle extends to all areas of life, including romantic relationships. At the start, both partners typically show their best sides, trying to impress each other, but to truly understand someone, observe them during the quiet moments when they aren't trying to impress. How do they treat service staff during a dinner out? How do they act when stressed or when they think you're not looking? Do they continue to show kindness, patience, and respect? Or do they reveal less flattering traits? The same pattern is noticeable in social settings. A friend might be the life of the party when everyone is watching, always cracking jokes and seeking attention. Yet, when they think they are unobserved, they may become aloof, selfish, or dismissive. It's not the public displays, but the small, hidden moments that truly define character. From a Stoic perspective, we learn to observe life objectively and without judgment. People often reveal their true nature when they think the stage is empty. Stoicism teaches that virtue lies not in how we act when observed, but how we behave when no one is watching. A person who remains kind, patient, and respectful, even in the absence of an audience, truly embodies Stoic values. However, many people don't live this way. They maintain a public persona that serves their image while allowing less appealing traits to surface in private. I experienced this with a colleague who was supportive and engaging in group settings, always offering positive feedback and showing support. Yet in private, he became curt, dismissive, and only interested in self-benefit. This realization showed me that his public persona was merely a facade. The most honest moments occur not under the spotlight, but when individuals believe they are alone. These instances provide a window into their true selves, far removed from the image they present to the world. Whether in moments of kindness or cruelty, it's the unguarded instances that reveal the truth about someone's character. If a person shows goodness only when others are watching, that's not true goodness, it's performance. This is a key message from Stoicism. True character is who you are in the shadows, not in the spotlight. Stoicism urges us to live in alignment with our values consistently, irrespective of who is watching. Whether the room is full or empty, a Stoic's actions are steadfast because they are driven by internal values, not by a need for external validation. Observing others in their most unguarded moments not only reveals their true character, but also reminds us of the importance of authenticity, even when we are alone. So the next time you want to understand someone deeply, don't just focus on their grand gestures or public persona. Instead, look at what they do when they think no one is watching. That's when you'll see their real character. That's where the truth resides. Now consider emotional reactions, as they also reveal a person's priorities. Emotional responses offer an unfiltered glimpse into someone's soul, showcasing their values and what they hold dear. This can be controversial, as many of us believe we can control our emotions and conceal our true concerns. However, strong reactions, whether of anger, excitement, or anxiety, are undeniable indicators that something deeply significant is at stake. For instance, I once observed a colleague who was typically calm and collected, but he reacted explosively during a meeting when a minor change was proposed to his project. This wasn't about the change itself, but rather about his deep personal investment in the project. His outburst inadvertently showed how much the project meant to him, something he had never articulated. People might not always verbalize what matters most to them, but their emotional reactions are telltale. Consider a boss who becomes irate when his decisions are questioned. It's not just about maintaining authority. His self-worth is tied to being perceived as infallible. Or a friend who reacts defensively over a minor critique could be indicating a deep-seated insecurity or a closely held value. Similarly, the thrill someone exhibits when praised at work might reveal that recognition is a fundamental priority for them, even if they never explicitly acknowledge it. The key takeaway is this: a person's strongest emotional reactions, whether positive or negative, highlight their deepest priorities. They may often seem cool, detached, or indifferent, but when something they deeply care about is at risk, their true feelings surface. This dynamic isn't only about negative emotions such as anger or frustration, which are readily noticeable. It also encompasses the joy and enthusiasm that animate them, like the excitement someone exhibits when discussing a hobby or side hustle, because these activities hold significant value for them. In relationships, this principle proves especially insightful. If you're dating someone who becomes disproportionately upset when plans are disrupted, it suggests that spending time together is crucial to them. Similarly, if they become visibly excited about planning future activities together, it indicates that creating shared experiences is a priority for them. Emotions are invariably linked to values, and observing someone's emotional responses provides a clear indication of what matters to them, often without needing explicit confirmation. For instance, if mentioning someone's habitual tardiness leads to a defensive outburst, it's not just about being late, it reflects their deep-seated need to be seen as reliable. Stoicism encourages us to view human behavior objectively, noting that emotions are among the most revealing aspects of a person's character. When emotions intensify, it's usually a sign that something important to that person is being affected. This understanding can help you better navigate relationships by knowing what triggers emotional responses, allowing for more thoughtful and sensitive interactions. Moreover, Stoicism offers a deeper lesson about self-awareness. When you notice your own strong reactions, it's an opportunity to reflect. Are these feelings tied to something truly important, or are they driven by ego? For instance, is your anger due to a genuine threat to your integrity, or are you simply concerned about your reputation? By understanding your emotional triggers, you gain greater control over your responses, distinguishing between reactions connected to core values and those stemming from pride or insecurity. The ability to read people isn't magical. It involves keen observation of their emotions, body language, and overall demeanor, which can reveal much about their true intentions and values. Stoicism enhances this skill by teaching you to observe without judgment, allowing you to discern underlying truths in social interactions. This capability isn't just about gaining an advantage. It's about deepening your understanding of both others and yourself. By becoming more observant, you uncover what triggers your emotions, what you value, and how to align your life with those principles. Ultimately, the true power of this insight lies not in manipulation, but in fostering wisdom and personal growth. Have you ever felt like everyone around you is just pretending, like they're actors on a stage? I definitely have. People wear masks every day, trying to be someone they're not. But once you learn to see the subtle signs, you'll see right through them. I remember being in a meeting where everyone was nodding and smiling, but beneath those smiles, I could sense hidden motives. It was all in the small things, the way they positioned their feet, the silence, the brief pauses. And believe me, once you start noticing these signs, you won't look at people the same way again. Now let's talk about the tell me more technique. It's almost like having a superpower, but without needing a costume or a cape. The best part? People don't even realize you're using it. It's simple, yet powerful. Just stay relaxed, and when someone is sharing something passionately, instead of sharing your views or arguing, just say, "Tell me more." I discovered this during a debate with a friend about whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Instead of arguing, I just listened and said, "Tell me more." Suddenly, the conversation went from pizza to sharing childhood memories, favorite foods, and even a funny story about their dislike for pineapple as a kid. It turned into a deep insight into their personal life, all because of those 3 words. When people feel listened to, they drop their defenses. They don't feel the need to defend their views or argue. They end up sharing much more than they intended, opening up about their motivations, fears, insecurities, and dreams, all without realizing it. I've used this approach in business meetings, with friends, and even with people who seemed a bit dishonest. Once, in a negotiation, I just kept encouraging the other side to share more. By the end, they had revealed their entire strategy and why they were desperate for a deal. They practically handed me everything I needed to know, and all I did was listen. But it's more than a tactic to gather information or win an argument. It's about creating genuine connections. In a world where everyone is eager to speak but slow to listen, Tell Me More helps you truly understand others. It encourages you to set aside your ego, stop planning your next response, and really care about what the other person is saying. By inviting others to explain themselves without judgment, you give them a rare gift, the chance to be truly heard. In those moments, you build trust, understanding, and sometimes even healing. This technique is a practical application of Stoicism. It promotes empathy without attachment, focusing on understanding rather than controlling the conversation. People who treat everyone with kindness, regardless of their status, are often confident in themselves. They don't need to belittle others to feel important. On the other hand, those who are harsh to others are usually projecting their own insecurities. They try to lift themselves up by demeaning those they see as weaker. Stoicism teaches us to recognize and steer clear of this arrogance in ourselves. If you really want to understand who someone is, look beyond how they treat people they need to impress. Focus instead on how they treat those who seemingly have nothing to offer. This is the clearest way to see through their facade and into the true nature of their character. The key to understanding someone deeply might lie in their past. It's often said that the past is behind us, but it continues to shape who we are. People's experiences, traumas, victories, and relationships influence their current thoughts, behaviors, and how they interact with you. Consider a friend of mine who always seemed defensive, quick to anger, and wary in relationships. At first, it seemed like just their personality, but as I learned more about their past, betrayals, financial struggles, a tough upbringing, it all made sense. Their defensiveness was a shield against further hurt. Our past experiences leave marks, sometimes scars, which can explain current behavior. For instance, someone who felt neglected as a child may seek constant attention as an adult. A person burned by a past business partner might distrust new collaborators. Understanding this isn't about excusing behavior, but recognizing that people often react to echoes of their past, not just the present. Stoicism encourages us to see things clearly and without judgment, including someone's history. This insight is particularly revealing in romantic relationships. Have you ever dated someone who starts off fine, but then certain troubling patterns emerge, like excessive jealousy or commitment issues? Often, these behaviors are responses to unresolved pain from past relationships. They're driven by a fear of experiencing that pain again. Understanding someone's past helps us see their behavior in context. It doesn't mean you have to put up with toxic behavior, but it can foster empathy and possibly guide how you interact with them.